This series is taking on a little bit of a life of its own. It's enabling me to go into much greater detail than I would normally do, which is brilliant. But the idea of sort of short, sharp, quick, easy videos has rather gone out the window. But hopefully you're still with me. Hopefully you're still enjoying it. So now we're at the point we can see the end in sight. So we've done all our Hessian. There's still a few bits and pieces to do on the back there, but we'll get to that in a minute. So now we're on the sort of the final stretch as far as the seat is concerned. So the first thing I've done is I put this layer of polyester webbing. There's a couple of reasons for this. A, it's just an extra layer of padding which I quite like. It's a bit of an insulator. It's also a fire stop, which is something I'm getting a bit obsessed about recently. But that's good, that's never a bad thing. And so now we have a layer of cotton wadding. So with cotton wadding you get the cotton wadding itself, and then there's this sort of faint skin bit. Hold on to that, we need that as well. That's our additional fireproofing. So I'm going to trim this to size, and then the calico goes over the top of that, and then we're going to tack the calico down, and then that's ready for the top cover. Now it's worth spending a little bit of time and getting this absolutely smooth, because it's important. So first of all, get it roughly to where you want it, and then what I do is I put a couple of tacks in at the back, a couple of tacks in at the front, just to hold it in place, just to stop it going anywhere. And then you can spend a bit of time stretching and smoothing and getting it just how you want it, because the only thing that's on top of this is the face fabric, so there's nowhere to hide. So we need to get this absolutely smooth. If I measured the time it's taken me start to finish, it's probably about 3 days to get to this point, and I've probably got another day to finish it. So it's 4 days to do a chair, whereas if you're doing it with foam and staples, you probably do that in 20 minutes. Maybe half an hour, but you know, and on an industrial scale I'm probably do it even faster than that. But it does show in the end result, and it does make it a much more comfortable chair. But you can see most of the wrinkles have gone. I've still got to do that, pull that bit tight, which will then get rid of those. But that's coming out as quite a nice job. Obviously these bits need to be pulled in as well, but by the time we're finished, that will be straight, that will go round, and we'll finish those wrinkles. And then we move from here onto the arms, and then finally the big finish, the back. So there you are, by the magic of video. Here is our chair covered in white calico. And if we wanted to, we could just sort of put a final covering over the top of that, and that's a jolly nice chair. It works as a chair, it's very comfortable. I can attest to that. I've tried it several times. In fact, I had my morning cup of tea in there, although I wasn't allowed chocolate biscuits near the white covering. There are a couple of options as to how we can finish it. I mean, one of the ways that, it's probably the most popular way to do a chair such as this, is to deep button it, to put that sort of lattice work buttons on it. And I quite like doing that, but I've done it lots of times. And as this is going to be a sort of an heirloom chair, I feel we ought to go a bit further than that. So we will. So I'm going to do something that I've never done before. So this may work, it may not. And if you're going to do something for the first time, on video and YouTube, it's probably not the place to do it. But I'm bold and fearless, and we'll pretend we can't see this dirty mark here. Just turn your eyes away from it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flute the back. So a series of big stripes of upholstery that comes out in bumps, and they will end up with a very stylish back. I think so, which is the sort of the Art Nouveau style, which is what I set out to achieve in the first place. And if that doesn't give you a chair that hugs you, I don't know what will. So I've started off, I've made some marks. At the moment, I'm sure it just looks like dirty marks on the top of the thing. But what we need to do is to make them big and obvious than using a felt tip pin. So let's go for it. So then when I turn the chair up the right way and turn it round, you can see this is what we're going for. Big stripes. It's going to look brilliant, isn't it? So according to the books that I've read, what we now need to do is to make a piece of calico to go across the back, which has pockets. And we're going to sew those pockets in and then sew the whole thing onto the back of here. In principle, dead easy. We'll find out. So I've now cut myself a nice piece of calico, and after one or two false starts, I managed to mark it out. And what I've marked out is 21 centimetre lines, or it's lines 21 centimetres apart, and it's up, I forget, from the bottom, and it's down that much from the top. So it's just going to cover the back of the chair. That's the plan anyway. Now what I'm now going to do is use the sewing machine and then sew a line, or sew a hem, from there to there on each one of these, and then that becomes the start of my pocket, and then that then gets sewn onto the back of the chair. Now if you're a sewing machine purist, now's the time to look away. Well, there you go, that didn't take long, and provided you don't look closely, they look almost straight. In fact, the further away you are, the straighter they become. If you're watching this video in America, God, I'm good. If you're in England, be kind to me. So now we need to apply this bit to the chair. I don't know why I do this to myself, really. This now needs to be sewn in all the way along. And the minute you start, you think of a better way of doing it. What I could have done was sewn this whilst I had the machine out onto another piece of calico at the back, and then I could have just tacked the whole lot over the top and it would have gone on as a single unit. So if I ever do it commercially, that's what I shall do. Go all the way down this one, and then I shall sew the next one onto there, next one onto there, next one onto there, next one onto there, next one onto there. Now as I've made my way across, I've refined the technique ever so slightly, and what I'm doing is, as well as stitching it all the way across, I'm also putting in a couple of big deep stitches with the mattress needle all the way through to the other side. The hardest bit is lining it back up with where you want it this side, and then pulling that in ever so slightly. And what this will do is it will give me much greater definition on the lines, but also the back of the chair was coming forward a very long way, so by doing it this way I'll just drop it back a little bit, which allows me to build the cushioning in on the front. So I'm just going to put sort of half a dozen of these stitches all the way through. So this is what it now looks like. As you can see, I've got a series of pockets, all nice and firmly fixed in, and it comes around the side here, and all I've got to do now is fill the pockets. So we come to the point where we're actually going to stuff these flutes. Now I've had 3 attempts at doing this. The first version is I took a roll of wadding and I just tried, and that didn't really work. I just shredded the wadding everywhere. I then had a look online, and there was quite a clever way of doing it, wrapping it in cellophane and then sucking the air out with a vacuum cleaner. And that was alright, and that's what this one is. But you end up with the cellophane stuck in there, which makes the whole thing very hard. So that's going to have to come out, and we're going to replace it. This version, which is the one I'm now doing, is where I take our roll of wadding and I wrap it in calico with 2 little ties round it. I can then slide this down the flute, cut the ties, and then it makes it nice and soft, which is what we want really. So and then you pull it all the way down to the end. And that's it. That's the perfect way of doing it. So whilst doing it the way with the vacuum cleaner was much more fun to do, it doesn't end up anywhere near as decent a job. So this is the way we're going to adopt, and so that's the way we're going to do it. So here we are, we managed to get all 5 flutes filled. I think that final method that I tried was the way to do it, and that's the way I shall do it in future, should I ever find myself making another one of these. And I suspect I probably will. So all I've got to do is just tack this fabric in, and then we're ready to start thinking about the top fabric. There you are, that's all tacked into place, and I can tell you it's quite comfortable because I have tested it only once or twice. Now it had been my intention to carry on all the way until I got the top fabric on. Unfortunately, because of this rotten virus that's kicking around, I'm not quite sure when this top fabric is going to appear. I understand it's on the way, but it could be any time in the next 2 weeks, which doesn't really help me. So I shall stop this video now. Hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you've learnt something, and then we'll come back together in the not too distant future when we get to put the top fabric on, and more importantly we get to install the secret compartment. Because in case I forgot to tell you earlier, this chair is going to have a secret compartment. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, go and have a look at some of the other ones. You never know, you might enjoy those as well. There's always a danger. Also, if you press the subscribe button, it makes quite a difference to my life, so I appreciate that. There's also the Instagram page, and there's the blog, which I haven't mentioned for ages. But I still write it every now and again, so it's still worth having a look. You never know, you might enjoy that as well. So I don't know when the next video will be, but hopefully it won't be too long. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.